Hey everybody, my name's Tatiana and I'm here with my friend Stephanie in this Bitcoin 101 series. Hi Steph. So
Hey.
this is a really important video. It's about basic security and privacy. Now I'm terrible with computers. I lose my stuff. I forget things everywhere I go. People make fun of me for it all the time. But that's not really appropriate when it comes to Bitcoin. So maybe you could fill people in a little bit about some tips and tricks and the security levels that you can achieve with Bitcoin.
Yeah, so one of the things I love about Bitcoin is that you have so much control and autonomy over your money and what you do with it. But with that control also comes a lot of responsibility. You have to make sure that your money is safe and secure, and that you do things like back up your Bitcoin wallet and remember your password and choose a secure passphrase to protect yourself from theft or loss. So I just wanted to do a little bit of an overview of just basic steps that anyone can take to make their Bitcoins more secure. Now, we already said in the wallet section, make a backup of your Bitcoin wallet. Do it as soon as you create the wallet before you put any Bitcoins in it, and keep that backup safe and secure. Your Bitcoin wallet will walk you through how to do it, and it's very easy. It's a no-brainer on how to do that. As far as other things you can do to make sure your Bitcoins are secure your email. You don't want to be vulnerable to phishing scams or spam email. Some wallets will actually email you backup copies of your Bitcoin wallet if you put in your email address, which can be really convenient. But then again, if someone hacks into your email, they have the backup of your Bitcoin wallet, which contains your keys, and they can steal your Bitcoins. So secure your email, put two-factor authentication on your email, choose a strong password that is not easy to guess, and change your password every every so often. Every 6 months or so is probably good. Two-factor authentication. Some Bitcoin wallets offer the use of two-factor authentication, which means not only do you type in a password to get into your wallet, you also have to type in another little code that expires every so often, and it's usually stored on another device like your phone. So for instance, you might use an app like Google Authenticator or Authy to generate these little throwaway codes, these temporary one-time use passwords that change every few seconds, and you have to use that to log in to your account in addition to inputting your password. It's just a little bit of extra security so that in case someone gets your password or gets their hands on it, they will not be able to get into your account without using that two-factor authentication as well. Choose strong passwords. One thing that you can do to create a strong and memorable password is to take a sentence like, I know Tatiana's birthday is July 5th. Let's just say that. So then you would take a capital I, a lowercase k, the first letter of each word in that sentence, and create a passphrase that looks like a string of gibberish, but it contains capital and lowercase letters, numbers, punctuation, and there you go. You've made a secure password that is also easy to remember. Keep your private keys private. Bitcoin private keys are something that you definitely want to keep private. And for most Bitcoin wallets, your private key is basically going to be your password or your login to that wallet. There's also the option to export your private keys. That's a little bit advanced. We won't really go into that here, but suffice it to say, you want to be the only one who's able to access and move your Bitcoins. And so if you follow these other security tips like securing your email, storing your backup of your Bitcoin wallet securely, your private keys are going to be kept for your eyes only. Another tip for Bitcoin privacy is to use a fresh address every time. If you use the same Bitcoin address for every transaction you do, someone is going to eventually be able to associate it with who you are. Maybe you'll associate it with yourself. Maybe you'll say, hi, I'm Tatiana. Here's my Bitcoin address. Send me tips. That's fine. It's safe to do that. It's safe to give out a Bitcoin address publicly. But the problem is that anyone can go and look up your address on the blockchain once they know it belongs to you and see how many Bitcoins you have. And you don't always want people to know how many Bitcoins you have in that address, right? So use a fresh Bitcoin address every time. Unless it's a tip address, you're going to probably change those for each new piece of content that you produce. But just remember that addresses can be associated with who you are, and that can diminish your privacy when using Bitcoin. How is this sounding so far, Tatiana? Do you have any
Well,
questions
yeah,
about this?
because I don't want to change my address every time. So I was thinking about getting a QR code and putting it on my guitar. But I guess what I could do is once the tips come in, I could send them to a new address every time. So this way, even though people know how much came into that one wallet, they won't know. Well, maybe they will. I guess they'll know where all the money is with in all the other wallets. I mean, how does that work?
Right. So, yeah, that's something that you could do. If you want to have a public tip address that people know belongs to you, what you could then do for some extra privacy is move those Bitcoins that you get into your public address into private addresses after you receive them. So maybe people know that that address that you're receiving tips at is yours, but they don't know who owns or controls the addresses that you send the tips onto after that, and that gives you a little bit more privacy. Bitcoin addresses are like grains of sand. They are meant to be throwaways. You don't need to conserve Bitcoin addresses. So it's always best for your privacy and for the privacy of everyone else you're transacting with to never reuse Bitcoin addresses if you can help it. Use fresh addresses each time. They're not going to run out.
Okay, I gotta change my whole approach. Okay, cool. What about sometimes people say that when you're creating your Bitcoins, you want to do it offline or using a VPN. What are they talking about there?
So you might have heard the phrase cold wallets or cold storage. When you store Bitcoins in cold storage or a cold wallet, that means that those Bitcoin addresses were created on a computer or offline on a computer that's not connected to the internet. And the reason you'd want to do that is because computers that are connected to the internet can get malware. They can be vulnerable to all kinds of spying and recording of the private keys, which is what you don't want anyone to know if you want to keep your Bitcoins really secure. So if you're being really private or paranoid or just careful, you might want to store your Bitcoins in a cold address. And you can do that by generating the addresses offline. There's also some hardware wallets that allow you to generate Bitcoin addresses without being connected to the internet. So those are all some things you can do to just increase the security of your Bitcoin storage.
I'm a little confused though, because if Bitcoin lives on the internet, then how can you make a wallet that never touched the internet and use it?
Well, Bitcoin addresses and their corresponding private key that unlocks the ability to send Bitcoins out of that address, those are generated, those pairs of things are generated based on a mathematical algorithm. And it doesn't need the internet to work. You can create essentially the wallet, the container for the Bitcoins, without having anything to do with the internet. It's all based on math. And the beauty of it is that this pair of things is a public address and a private key, and you can't figure out the private key from looking at the public address. So, yeah, you can create a cold Bitcoin address where you can put your Bitcoins without being connected to the internet. If you want to move your Bitcoins later, then yeah, you're going to have to connect to the internet to be able to send that transaction to propagate it to the Bitcoin network. But you can sign that Bitcoin transaction on an offline computer and then go online to propagate the transaction to the network for increased security. So there's a lot of kind of advanced ways to use Bitcoin very securely. Cold storage is an advanced topic, but now if you hear the phrase cold storage, you can at least know what
Okay,
it
great.
means.
So if people have any questions, they can post them in the comments below. And we're going to move on to the next video, which is why is Bitcoin cool and revolutionary, why you should care. Thanks everybody for checking in, and we'll see you in a few minutes.